First contact. The vast expanse of space stretched out before the U.S. horizon, humanity's most advanced deep space exploration vessel. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling nebula that dominated the view screen. The Cygnus Arm, a remote region of the Milky Way, had long been the subject of speculation among Earth's scientific community. Now, after years of preparation and months of travel, they were finally here. Status report, Chen called out, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her veins. Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel, the ship's science officer, looked up from his console. All systems nominal, Captain. We're detecting some unusual energy readings from within the nebula, but nothing that poses an immediate threat. Chen nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Unusual is what we're here for, Mr. Patel. Any signs of the anomaly that brought us out this far? Before Patel could respond, the ship's AI, Araya, chimed in. Captain, I'm detecting a faint distress signal emanating from coordinates 227 Mark 35. The signal doesn't match any known human frequencies. The bridge fell silent as the implications of Araya's words stank in. Chen straightened her uniform, her mind racing. Put it on speakers, Araya. A series of high-pitched chirps and clicks filled the air, unlike anything the crew had ever heard before. Chen's heart raced. Could this be it? The moment humanity had been waiting for since they first looked up at the stars. Mr. Patel, analysis. The science officer's fingers flew over his console. It's definitely not natural, Captain. The pattern is too regular, too structured. I'd stake my career on it being artificial. Chen took a deep breath. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we may have just made first contact. Let's not mess this up. Helm, set a course for the source of that signal. Yellow alert. I want all departments ready for anything. As the U.S. horizon glided deeper into the nebula, the crew worked with barely contained excitement. Years of training kicked in, but beneath the professional exterior, each of them felt the weight of history on their shoulders. Hours passed as they navigated the swirling gases and energy discharges of the nebula. Finally, Araya's voice broke the tension. Captain, visual contact established. Putting it on the main screen now. The image that appeared left the entire bridge crew speechless. Amidst the colorful gases of the nebula floated a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull seemed to shimmer and shift, as if it were made of liquid metal. Organic curves and sharp angles blended in a design that defied human engineering principles. My God, whispered Patel. It's beautiful. Chen snapped out of her off first. Life signs. Araya responded promptly, detecting multiple life forms aboard the vessel, Captain. However, their biosignatures are erratic. They appear to be in distress. Hail them, Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. After a moment, Araya reported, no response to our hails, Captain. Their communications array may be damaged. Chen weighed her options. Protocol dictated caution, but every instinct told her that these beings needed help. Prep a shuttle. I'm leading a boarding party. Captain, her first officer, Commander Sarah Takahashi, protested. Regulations state. I'm well aware of the regulations, Commander. Chen cut her off. But we didn't come all this way to hide behind protocol when lives are at stake. You have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, get our people home. Within minutes, Chen found herself aboard the shuttle with a small team. Patel, Dr. Zara Okoro, the ship's chief medical officer, and Lieutenant Marcus Cruz, head of security. As they approached the alien vessel, its true scale became apparent. It dwarfed their shuttle, its hull reflecting the colorful gases of the nebula. I'm detecting an open airlock, Cruz reported from the pilot's seat. Atmosphere reads is breathable, but I'd recommend keeping our suits on. Chen nodded. Take us in, Lieutenant. The shuttle glided into the cavernous airlock, setting down with a soft thud. As the team disembarked, they found themselves in a corridor that seemed to pulse with an inner light. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that shifted and changed as they watched. "Fascinating," Patel murmured, running a scanner over the walls. "The entire ship seems to be one interconnected organism. I've never seen anything like it." "Stay focused," Chen reminded him. "We're here to help, not study." "Dr. Okoro, where are the life signs strongest?" The doctor consulted her medical tricorder. "This way, Captain." "But they're fading fast." The team moved quickly through the alien corridors, marveling at the advanced technology surrounding them. As they neared the source of the life signs, they heard a sound that made them all freeze in their tracks. It was a keening wail, filled with pain and fear, yet unmistakably intelligent. They rounded a corner and found themselves in what appeared to be the ship's control center. And there, amidst consoles of pulsing light and shifting metal, lay the aliens. They were beautiful and terrifying all at once. Their bodies were vaguely humanoid, but covered in iridescent scales that shimmered with every labored breath. Multiple limbs twitched weakly, and their large, multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly. Dr. Okoro rushed forward, her medical training overcoming any fear or hesitation. "They're suffering from some kind of radiation poisoning," she reported, scanning the nearest alien. "Their biology is incredibly complex. I'm not sure our treatments will work, but we have to try." As the doctor worked, one of the aliens fixed its gaze on Captain Chen. It raised a trembling limb, pointing at a console nearby. Chen approached cautiously, studying the alien interface. Patel joined her, his eyes wide with excitement and concern. "Captain, I think they're trying to show us something." Chen nodded, her mind racing. Everything they'd been taught about first contact protocols seemed inadequate in the face of this reality. These beings were dying, and they were trusting humans, complete strangers, to help them. "Mr. Patel, see if you can interface with their systems. Find out what happened here, and if there's anything we can do to help." As Patel worked, Chen knelt beside the alien that had signaled to her. Up close, she could see the intelligence burning in its eyes, the fear and hope battling for dominance. "We're here to help," she said softly, knowing the alien couldn't understand her words, but hoping her tone would convey her meaning. "You're not alone anymore." The alien's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly, and it made a series of clicking sounds that Chen desperately wished she could understand. Suddenly, Patel called out, "Captain, I've accessed their logs. It's incredible. They're explorers, like us. They came from a system thousands of light years away, searching for other intelligent life." Chen felt a lump form in her throat. "And they found us." "There's more," Patel continued, his voice filled with awe and sadness. "They encountered some kind of spatial anomaly. It damaged their ship and exposed them to lethal levels of radiation. They've been drifting here, sending out a distress call, hoping against hope that someone would find them." Dr. Okoro looked up from her patient, her expression grim. "Captain, I've stabilized them for now, but they need more advanced care than I can provide here. We need to get them back to the horizon." Chen nodded, tapping her communicator. "Chen to horizon. Prepare sickbay for multiple alien patients, and contact Earth. Tell them we've made first contact, and we need every xenobiologist and linguistic expert they can spare." As the team prepared to transport the aliens to their ship, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. Humanity had dreamed of this day for centuries, and now it was here, born not of grand ceremonies or diplomatic meetings, but of a simple act of compassion. The alien she had knelt beside reached out again, its limb brushing against her suit. Chen took its hand, or what she assumed was a hand, in hers, marveling at the texture of its scales. "You're going to be okay," she said, hoping that somehow, across the vast gulf of biology and culture, her message would be understood. "We'll figure this out together." As the transporter beam enveloped them, Captain Ilara Chen knew that the real journey was just beginning. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, and she was determined to ensure it would be remembered as a step towards friendship, understanding, and hope. The U.S. Horizon's sickbay buzzed with activity as Dr. Okoro and her team worked tirelessly to save their alien patients. Captain Chen stood at the observation window, watching the organized chaos unfold before her. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders, heavier than ever before. Commander Takahashi appeared at her side, her expression a mix of concern and excitement. "Captain, we've made contact with Earth. They're freaking out, to put it mildly. Every major government and scientific institution is scrambling to respond." Chen nodded, her eyes never leaving the scene in sickbay. "And our guests? Any progress on communication?" Lieutenant Reyes from Linguistics has been working nonstop. She thinks she's identified some basic patterns in their vocalizations, but it's slow going. Patel's team is having more luck with their technology. It seems to be partially biological, which is making things interesting. A small smile tugged at Chen's lips. "Interesting. That's one way to put it, Commander." As they watched, one of the aliens, the one Chen had first interacted with on their ship, stirred on its biobed. Dr. Okoro rushed to its side, her movements careful but confident. "I need to be in there," Chen said, moving towards the door. Takahashi's hand on her arm stopped her. "Captain, with all due respect, is that wise? We don't know enough about their biology, their intentions." Chen cut her off with a look. "What we do know, Sarah, is that they're scared, alone, and in need of help. Sometimes wisdom means taking a leap of faith." With that, she strode into sickbay, the hiss of the decontamination field washing over her as she entered. Dr. Okoro looked up as she approached, relief evident in her eyes. "Captain, good timing. Our friend here is showing signs of increased neural activity. I think it's trying to communicate." Chen moved to the alien's bedside, looking down into its multifaceted eyes. They seemed clearer now, more focused. The alien's iridescent scales rippled, and it made a series of soft clicking sounds. "Hello," Chen said softly. "I'm Captain Ilara Chen of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We're here to help you." The alien's eyes blinked rapidly, and it raised a limb towards her. Chen hesitated for just a moment before reaching out and gently taking it in her hand. The moment their skin made contact, a jolt of energy seemed to pass between them. Suddenly, Chen's mind was flooded with images, emotions, and concepts that were alien yet somehow familiar. She gasped, struggling to process the torrent of information. "Captain," Dr. Okoro's voice seemed distant. "Your neural activity is off the charts. What's happening?" Chen barely heard her, lost in the alien's memories. She saw a world of crystal spires and shimmering oceans, felt the joy of scientific discovery and the thrill of space exploration. But underlying it all was a deep, pressing need, a desperation that transcended language. With a gasp, Chen pulled her hand away, stumbling back. Dr. Okoro steadied her, concern etched on her face. I think I understood them," Chen said, her voice shaky. "At least some of it. They're called the Luminary. They're explorers, scientists, and they're refugees." "Refugees," Dr. Okoro echoed, confusion evident in her voice. Chen nodded, her mind still reeling from the experience. Their world. Something happened. A cataclysm of some kind. This ship, it's not just an exploration vessel. It's an ark carrying the last of their kind. The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. The Luminary weren't just alien visitors. They were quite possibly the last survivors of their entire civilization. "We need to help them," Chen said, her voice regaining its strength. "Not just medically, but everything. They've lost their home, their people. We might be all they have left." As if in response to her words, the luminary on the biobid made a series of rapid clicks and whistles. Its limbs moved in complex patterns, and the bioluminescent patterns on its scales shifted and pulsed. Lieutenant Reyes, who had been quietly observing from nearby, stepped forward. Captain, I think it's trying to thank you. Chen felt a lump form in her throat. Here, billions of miles from Earth, humanity was facing its greatest challenge and its greatest opportunity. The decisions they made here, in this sickbay, could shape the future of both their species. Tell the crew, Chen said, her voice steady despite the emotions roiling within her. Tell them everything. We're not just explorers anymore. We're guardians, diplomats, maybe even saviors. And we need to be ready for whatever comes next. As the news spread throughout the ship, a palpable sense of purpose filled the air. The crew of the U.S. Horizon had trained for years for the possibility of first contact, but nothing could have prepared them for this reality. They weren't just meeting aliens. They were becoming their protectors, their lifeline in a vast and uncaring universe. In sickbay, Captain Chen remained by the luminary's side, determined to bridge the gap between their species. With each passing moment, the weight of history pressed down upon her, but so too did the exhilarating possibility of a future where humanity and the luminary stood together among the stars. As the Horizon continued its journey through the nebula, carrying its precious cargo of hope and new beginnings, the first chapter of a grand cosmic adventure was coming to a close. But for Captain Ilara Chen and her crew, for the luminary, and for humanity as a whole, the real story was just beginning. The rescue, approximately 2,000 words. The days following the rescue of the luminary were a whirlwind of activity aboard the U.S. Horizon. As Dr. Okoro and her medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize their alien patients, the rest of the crew threw themselves into the monumental task of understanding and accommodating their new guests. Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel found himself at the center of this storm of discovery. The science officer's quarters had become a makeshift xenobiology lab, filled with holographic projections of luminary physiology and star charts detailing their incredible journey across the galaxy. It's simply astounding, Patel muttered to himself as he pored over the data streaming from the luminary vessel. Their propulsion technology alone is centuries beyond ours. And their navigation systems, they don't just plot courses, they predict stellar phenomena. A chime at his door broke his concentration. "Come in," he called out, not looking up from his work. Captain Chen entered, looking tired but determined. "Report, Mr. Patel. Have you made any progress with their technology?" Patel's eyes lit up with excitement. "Captain, it's incredible. The luminary ship isn't just a vessel. It's a living, breathing ecosystem. The hull is composed of a biometallic alloy that can regenerate itself. And their computer systems, they're not binary like ours. They operate on principles closer to organic neural networks." Chen nodded, taking in the information. "And their distress. Have you figured out what caused the radiation exposure?" Patel's expression grew somber. "Yes, Captain. It appears they encountered a microsingularity, a tiny black hole, for lack of a better term. Their shielding protected them from the worst of it, but not before it caused significant damage to their life support systems. Can we repair it?" Patel hesitated. "Honestly, Captain, I'm not sure. Their technology is so advanced, it's like asking a medieval blacksmith to repair a fusion reactor. We're learning, but..." Chen laid a hand on his shoulder. "Do what you can, Raj. These people are counting on us." As she left Patel's quarters, Chen's communicator chirped. "Captain, to sickbay," came Dr. Okoro's voice. "You need to see this." Minutes later, Chen stood in sickbay, watching in amazement as one of the luminary, the one she had first communicated with, sat upright on its biobed. Its iridescent scales shimmered with pulses of light, and its multiple limbs moved in graceful, complex patterns. Dr. Okoro approached, her voice low with excitement. "Captain, we've made a breakthrough. Watch this." The doctor held up a small device, which projected a holographic image of the human circulatory system. The luminary studied it intently, then raised a limb. To Chen's astonishment, a similar hologram appeared above the alien's appendage, showing what could only be the luminary equivalent. They're learning at an incredible rate, Dr. Okoro explained. Not just our language, but our science, our biology. It's as if their minds are hardwired for rapid information processing and adaptation. Chen stepped closer to the luminary, who turned its multifaceted eyes toward her. "Hello," she said softly. "Can you understand me?" The alien scales rippled with patterns of light. Then, to everyone's shock, it spoke. The voice was unlike anything Chen had ever heard, a harmonious blend of tones that seemed to resonate on multiple frequencies at once. But the words were clear. "Greetings, Captain Ilara Chen of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We are grateful for your assistance." Chen felt a lump form in her throat. "You're welcome," she managed. "We're honored to help. Can you tell us more about what happened to you?" The luminary's limbs moved in a pattern that Chen was beginning to recognize as a gesture of sadness or regret. "Our journey has been long and fraught with peril. We are the last of the luminary, sent forth to seek new life and new civilizations that might aid us in our time of need." "What happened to your world?" Chen asked gently. The alien's voice took on a mournful tone. "Our star began to die, far sooner than we had predicted. We had no choice but to flee, to seek a new home among the stars. But the journey has taken its toll. Many of our kind did not survive the rigors of deep space." Chen felt a wave of empathy wash over her. The luminary weren't just refugees. They were the survivors of an apocalypse, carrying the hopes and dreams of their entire civilization with them. "We'll do everything in our power to help you," Chen promised. "But I need to know, are there others out there? More ships like yours?" The luminary was silent for a moment, its scales pulsing with complex patterns. "We do not know. Our communications array was damaged in the encounter with the spatial anomaly. We have been unable to contact the other Arcs." Chen's mind raced with the implications. There could be more luminary out there, lost and in need of help. But before she could pursue that line of thought, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. "Captain, to the bridge." Commander Takahashi's voice came over the comm system, urgent and tense. "On my way," Chen responded, turning to leave. She paused at the door, looking back at the luminary. "We'll continue this soon. Rest now." As Chen rushed to the bridge, she couldn't shake the feeling that their troubles were far from over. The universe, it seemed, was not done testing them. The bridge was a hive of activity when Chen arrived. Commander Takahashi immediately vacated the captain's chair, her face grim. "Report," Chen barked, taking her seat. "We've detected a massive energy surge from within the nebula," Takahashi explained. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before. And it's heading straight for us." On the main view screen, Chen watched as a roiling mass of energy approached, distorting the very fabric of space around it. "Analysis, Mr. Patel." The science officer's fingers flew over his console. "It appears to be some kind of quantum storm, Captain. The energy readings are off the charts. Our shields won't stand a chance against that kind of power." Chen's mind raced. They couldn't outrun it, not in time. And they couldn't abandon the luminary vessel. There had to be another way. "The luminary ship," she said suddenly. "Their technology is far more advanced than ours. Mr. Patel, could their shielding protect both ships?" Patel's eyes widened. "Theoretically, yes. But we'd need to extend their shields around both vessels. It would require precise calculations and timing." "Then do it," Chen ordered. "And get our luminary friends up here. We're going to need their help." Minutes later, as the quantum storm bore down on them, the bridge of the U.S. horizon presented a sight unlike any in human history. Luminary and humans worked side by side, their different anatomies and thought processes complementing each other in ways no one could have predicted. The luminary Chen had spoken to in sickbay, who had since identified itself as Zartan, moved with astonishing speed between stations, its limbs a blur of motion as it interfaced with both human and luminary technology. Energy conversion at 87% and rising. Patel called out. Luminary shields extending. Now. On the view screen, a shimmering field of energy enveloped both ships just as the quantum storm struck. The horizon shuddered violently, consoles sparking as the raw power of the phenomenon washed over them. Hull integrity holding. Lieutenant Kruz reported from Tactical, his voice strained. But barely. We can't take much more of this. Chen gripped the arms of her chair, watching as the storm raged around them. The luminary shields glowed with an otherworldly light, bending and flexing under the onslaught. Suddenly, Zartan let out a series of high-pitched clicks and whistles. Warning, it said, its harmonious voice tinged with urgency. Shield cohesion failing. Requires direct interface to maintain integrity. Before anyone could stop it, the luminary moved to a nearby console and pressed its limbs against the surface. Instantly, its scales lit up with blinding intensity, and arcs of energy began to flow between its body and the ship's systems. Zartan, no, Chen cried out, realizing what was happening. The luminary was using its own body as a conduit, channeling the storm's energy to maintain the shields. For what felt like an eternity, the bridge crew watched in horror and awe as Zartan's body pulsed with impossible amounts of energy. The alien's multifaceted eyes were wide open, filled with pain but also fierce determination. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the storm passed. The view screen cleared, revealing the calm, swirling gases of the nebula once more. Zartan collapsed to the deck, its scales dim and lifeless. Chen rushed to its side, cradling the alien's head in her lap. Medical team to the bridge, now, she shouted, her voice cracking with emotion. As Dr. Okoro and her team worked frantically to stabilize Zartan, Chen felt a wave of guilt wash over her. She had brought the luminary into this situation, and now one of them had sacrificed itself to save both crews. Hours later, Chen stood in sickbay once more, watching as Zartan floated in a specially designed regeneration tank. The alien's scales flickered weakly, but steadily. It's remarkable, Dr. Okoro said, studying her readings. Their physiology is capable of channeling and storing vast amounts of energy. It nearly killed Zartan, but it also saved all of our lives. Chen nodded, her throat tight with emotion. Will they recover? Dr. Okoro smiled softly. I believe so, Captain. It will take time, but Zartan's life signs are stabilizing. They're a resilient species. As Chen watched the luminary float peacefully in the tank, she felt a profound sense of connection to these alien beings. They had come seeking help, and in return, they had risked everything to save their human rescuers. Dr. Okoro, Chen said quietly, I need you to prepare a full report on luminary physiology and medical needs. When we return to Earth, I want us to be ready to provide them with whatever assistance they require. The doctor nodded, understanding the weight of the captain's words. This wasn't just about scientific discovery anymore. It was about forging a bond between two species that could change the course of galactic history. As Chen left sickbay, her mind was already racing with the challenges ahead. How would Earth react to the arrival of the luminary? How could they help these refugees find a new home? And what of the other luminary arcs, potentially still out there in the vast emptiness of space? One thing was certain. The crew of the U.S. Horizon had embarked on a journey far greater than they could have ever imagined. They had set out to explore the unknown reaches of space, and in doing so, they had become the vanguard of a new era of interstellar cooperation. As the Horizon continued its journey back to Earth, carrying its precious cargo of hope and new beginnings, Captain Ilara Chen knew that the true test of humanity's readiness for the cosmic stage was yet to come. But with the luminary by their side, she felt a glimmer of optimism for the future that lay ahead. The rescue was complete, but the adventure was only just beginning. Cultural clash. The journey back to Earth was filled with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. As the U.S. Horizon cut through the vast emptiness of space, Its crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the monumental task of introducing the luminary to humanity. Captain Ilara Chen sat in her ready room, poring over the latest reports from her department heads. The door chimed, and she looked up to see Commander Sarah Takahashi enter, carrying a data pad. "Captain, we've received a priority transmission from Earth Command," Takahashi said, her expression grave. "They're concerned about our decision to bring the luminary back with us." Chen sighed, leaning back in her chair. "Let me guess, they're worried about potential biological contamination. Security risks." Takahashi nodded. "Among other things, there's talk of quarantine protocols, extensive debriefings. Some voices are even calling for us to halt our approach and wait for a specialized containment team." "Absolutely not," Chen said firmly. "The luminary aren't some hazardous material to be contained. They're refugees, and more than that, they're our allies. They saved this ship and everyone on it." "I agree, Captain," Takahashi replied. "But we need to be prepared for resistance when we reach Earth. Not everyone will see this situation as we do." Before Chen could respond, her comm badge chirped. "Captain, to the bridge," came Lieutenant Kruz's voice. "We're receiving a distress call from a nearby system." Chen and Takahashi exchanged a glance before hurrying to the bridge. As they entered, Kruz turned from his tactical station. "Captain, we've picked up a distress signal from a human colony on Proxima Centauri B. They're reporting some kind of attack." Chen's brow furrowed. "Proxima Centauri. That's one of our oldest off-world colonies. Put it on screen, Lieutenant." The view screen flickered to life, showing a harried-looking man in a colonial administrator's uniform. "This is Administrator Chen of New Eden Colony. We're under attack by unknown forces. Our defenses are failing. We need immediate assistance." "This is Captain Ilara Chen of the U.S. Horizon," Chen responded. "We're en route to your location. Can you give us any more information about your attackers?" The administrator's image wavered, static cutting through his words. "They appeared out of nowhere. Ships like nothing we've ever seen. They're not responding to hails, just destroying everything. Please, hurry." The transmission cut out abruptly. Chen turned to her helm officer. "Set a course for Proxima Centauri, maximum warp. Yellow alert." As the horizon changed course, Chen felt a presence behind her. She turned to see Zartan, the luminary spokesperson, gliding onto the bridge. Since recovering from their heroic act during the quantum storm, Zartan had become an integral part of the ship's operations. "Captain," Zartan's harmonious voice resonated through the bridge. "We have monitored your communication. These attackers, we fear we may know their identity." All eyes turned to the luminary. Chen's heart raced. "Go on, Zartan." The alien's scales rippled with patterns of concern. "In our journey across the galaxy, we encountered a species known as the Void Hunters. They are nomadic predators, consuming the resources of worlds they encounter before moving on. We had hoped they had not followed us to this sector." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying these Void Hunters followed you here?" Zartan's limbs moved in a gesture of uncertainty. "It is possible, though not certain. If it is them, your colony is in grave danger. The Void Hunters do not negotiate. They only consume." The implications hung heavy in the air. Chen's mind raced with the possibilities and consequences. They were bringing the luminary to Earth, potentially leading a dangerous predator species straight to humanity's doorstep. "Mr. Patel," Chen called out, "I need everything we have on these Void Hunters. Work with Zartan to prepare tactical analysis and potential defense strategies." As the horizon raced towards Proxima Centauri, tension filled the ship. The crew, once excited about their first contact with the luminary, now faced the prospect of an interstellar war they were ill-prepared for. Hours later, the horizon dropped out of warp in the Proxima Centauri system. The scene that greeted them was one of chaos and destruction. The once thriving colony of New Eden was ablaze, its orbital defenses in ruins, and looming over the planet were ships that seemed to devour the very light around them. My God, Takahashi whispered. Those must be the Void Hunters. Zartan moved closer to the view screen, its scales pulsing with agitation. Yes, we must act quickly, Captain. Once they finish with the colony, they will come for us. Chen nodded, her jaw set with determination. Red alert. Shields up, weapons online. Mr. Cruz, target the nearest Void Hunter vessel and fire at will. The horizon surged forward, its phasers lancing out towards the alien ships. But to the crew's horror, the beams seemed to be absorbed by the dark hulls of the Void Hunters, leaving no visible damage. Our weapons are ineffective, Captain, Cruz reported, his voice tense. They're turning to engage us. Chen's mind raced. Their technology was clearly outmatched, but they couldn't abandon the colony. There had to be a way. Zartan, she said suddenly, your ship's technology, could it be effective against the Void Hunters? The luminary's eyes blinked rapidly. Potentially, yes, but our vessel is still badly damaged from our encounter with the Singularity. What if we combined our technologies? Chen pressed. Use the Horizon's power systems to augment your weapons. Zartan was silent for a moment, its scales flickering with rapid calculations. It is possible, but risky. The energy transfer could overload both ships' systems. Chen looked around at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. They all knew what was at stake. We have to try. Mr. Patel, work with Zartan to make it happen. Everyone else, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're going to buy them time. What followed was a dance of desperation. The horizon weaved between the massive Void Hunter ships, drawing their fire while staying just out of reach. Meanwhile, in the engine room, Patel and a team of engineers worked feverishly alongside the luminary to merge their technologies. Captain, Patel's voice came over the comm. We're ready, but we'll only have one shot at this. The energy transfer will burn out both ships' primary systems. Chen gripped her chair. Understood. All hands, brace for impact. Mr. Cruz, on my mark, channel all power to the luminary weapon system. The bridge crew watched in tense silence as the Void Hunter ships closed in, their dark hulls seeming to suck the very starlight from around them. Now, Chen shouted. A beam of pure, scintillating energy erupted from the luminary ship, amplified by the Horizon's power systems. It struck the lead Void Hunter vessel, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent flash that seared itself into the retinas of everyone watching, the alien ship simply ceased to exist. The remaining Void Hunters, faced with a weapon that could actually harm them, turned and fled, vanishing into the depths of space as quickly as they had appeared. As cheers erupted on the bridge, Chen felt a wave of relief wash over her. But it was short-lived. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems began to fail. Report, she called out. Main power is offline, Takahashi responded. We're running on emergency backups. Weapons, shields, propulsion, all down. Chen turned to Zartan. Your ship. The luminary scales pulsed weakly. In a similar state, Captain. We sacrificed much to defeat the Void Hunters. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Chen was left with the sobering reality of their situation. They had saved the colony, but at what cost? 2 advanced starships, crippled in orbit around a human colony world, and Earth still waited, unaware of the potential threat lurking in the galaxy. Commander Takahashi, send a priority message to Earth Command, Chen ordered. Inform them of everything that's happened here, and request immediate assistance for both our ships and the colony. As Takahashi moved to carry out her orders, Chen approached Zartan. The luminary seemed diminished somehow, its usually vibrant scales muted. Thank you, Chen said softly. Without you and your people, we wouldn't have stood a chance. Zartan's multifaceted eyes met hers. We are grateful for the opportunity to help, Captain. But I fear this is only the beginning. The Void Hunters will return, and in greater numbers. Chen nodded, the weight of command feeling heavier than ever. Then we'll face them together. Human, luminary, we're in this as one now. As repair crews swarmed over both ships and shuttles ferried supplies and medical teams to the battered colony below, Chen couldn't help but feel that a line had been crossed. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger, more dangerous galaxy, and the decisions they made in the coming days would shape the future of not just Earth, but countless worlds across the stars. The cultural clash they had feared between humans and luminary seemed insignificant now in the face of a greater threat. As Chen watched her crew work seamlessly alongside their alien allies, she realized that adversity had forged a bond stronger than any diplomatic agreement ever could. The journey back to Earth would have to wait. They had a colony to rebuild, ships to repair, and a galaxy to prepare for. The age of isolation was over. Humanity, ready or not, had just been thrust onto the galactic stage. And as the twin suns of Proxima Centauri set on the horizon, casting an ethereal glow over the damaged ships and the recovering colony, Captain Ilara Chen knew that the greatest challenges and the greatest adventures still lay ahead. Diplomatic crisis. The weeks following the battle at Proxima Centauri were a whirlwind of activity, as repair crews worked tirelessly to restore both the U.S. Horizon and the Luminary vessel to operational status. Earth's governments and military leaders grappled with the implications of recent events. Captain Ilara Chen stood in the newly repaired conference room of the Horizon, facing a wall of screens filled with the faces of Earth's most powerful leaders. The atmosphere was tense, the expressions on the screens ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. "Captain Chen," began Admiral Zhao, her weathered face creased with concern. "Your actions, while heroic, have placed Earth in a precarious position. You've essentially committed us to an interstellar conflict without proper authorization." Chen straightened her spine, meeting the Admiral's gaze. "With all due respect, Admiral, we had no choice. The Void Hunters were an imminent threat to a human colony. We acted to protect our people. And in doing so, you've aligned us with an unknown alien species," interjected President Emerson, his voice sharp. "These luminary, how can we be sure they're not a threat themselves? For all we know, they could have led these Void Hunters straight to us." Before Chen could respond, a new voice cut through the tension. "If I may address the council." All eyes turned to Zartan, who had glided silently into view. The luminary's scales shimmered with patterns of respect and determination. President Emerson's eyes widened. "Is that?" "This is Zartan," Chen introduced, spokesperson for the luminary refugees. "I believe their perspective is crucial to this discussion." There was a moment of stunned silence as the human leaders took in the alien's appearance. Then, with a nod from Admiral Zhao, Zartan began to speak. "Esteemed leaders of Earth," the luminary's harmonious voice resonated through the room. "We understand your concerns. Our arrival in your space was unintended, a result of desperate circumstances. We are eternally grateful for the compassion shown by Captain Chen and her crew." Zartan's limbs moved in complex patterns as it continued. "The Void Hunters are a threat to all life in this galaxy. They do not distinguish between species or civilizations. They consume, and they move on. We have been fleeing them for generations, seeking allies in our fight for survival. And you've brought them to our doorstep," a general on one of the screens accused. "No," Zartan replied firmly. "They were already here. Your colony was their target long before we arrived. Without our combined efforts, New Eden would have been lost entirely." Chen stepped forward. "Leaders of Earth, I understand your reservations, but I've seen firsthand what the luminary are capable of. Their technology, their understanding of the galaxy, it's far beyond our own. With them as allies, we stand a chance against threats we can barely comprehend." The screens erupted into a cacophony of arguments and questions. Chen watched as months of careful diplomacy and first contact protocols unraveled in minutes. This was the moment she had feared, when fear and suspicion threatened to overshadow the potential for a groundbreaking alliance. Suddenly, a new alarm blared through the ship. Lieutenant Cruz's voice came over the comm. "Captain, to the bridge. We're detecting multiple warp signatures entering the system." Chen's heart raced. "Excuse me," she said to the still arguing leaders. "We have a situation." As Chen and Zartan rushed to the bridge, the view screen came to life, showing a sight that made everyone's blood run cold. A fleet of Void Hunter ships, at least a dozen strong, had dropped out of warp and was advancing on Proxima Centauri. "They've returned," Zartan said, its voice filled with a mixture of fear and resignation, and in far greater numbers than before. Chen's mind raced. The Horizon was still not at full capacity, and the luminary ship was barely spaceworthy. The colony's defenses were still in ruins. They were vastly outgunned. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Chen ordered. As Admiral Zhou's face appeared on screen, Chen spoke quickly. "Admiral, we have a Void Hunter fleet approaching Proxima Centauri. We need immediate reinforcements." The Admiral's face paled. "Captain, our nearest ships are days away. You'll have to hold them off until—" Her words were cut off as the first Void Hunter attack struck the planet. The colony's remaining shields flickered and died under the onslaught. Chen turned to her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes. "We can't wait for reinforcements. We're all that stands between those people and annihilation." She faced Zartan. "Can we use the same trick as before? Combine our technologies." The luminary scales pulsed rapidly, not at full strength. "But there might be another way. Captain, if we could broadcast a signal on all frequencies, in a specific pattern." "A distress call?" Chen asked, confused. "Not just any distress call," Zartan explained. "A call to our people. There may be other luminary arcs within range, if we can reach them." Chen nodded, understanding. "Do it. Mr. Patel, work with Zartan. Use every scrap of power. We have to boost that signal." As the Horizon moved to engage the Void Hunter fleet, buying time for the signal to be sent, Chen couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. They were about to bring even more alien ships into Earth-controlled space, a move that could either save them all or spark an interstellar incident. The battle that followed was a desperate struggle for survival. The Horizon weaved between the massive Void Hunter ships, using every trick and tactic at their disposal to stay alive. The colony below was in chaos, evacuation ships launching even as Void Hunter weapons rained down destruction. Just as it seemed the situation was hopeless, with the Horizon's shields failing and the Void Hunters closing in for the kill, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive portal, shimmering with otherworldly energy, appeared at the edge of the system, and through it came the most beautiful sight Chen had ever seen. A fleet of luminary arc ships, their hulls gleaming with the light of distant stars. The tide of battle turned in an instant. The luminary ships, their technology far superior to the Void Hunters, engaged the enemy with a fury born of centuries of pursuit. Chen watched in awe as weapons she couldn't even comprehend tore through the Void Hunter fleet. In a matter of minutes, it was over. The remaining Void Hunters, faced with an enemy they couldn't hope to defeat, fled into the depths of space. As cheers erupted on the Horizon's bridge, Chen felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Commander Takahashi, her expression grave. "Captain, Earth Command is hailing us. They're demanding an explanation for the alien fleet that just appeared in our space." Chen took a deep breath, straightening her uniform. The battle might be over, but the real challenge was just beginning. She would have to navigate the treacherous waters of interstellar diplomacy, balancing Earth's fears with the undeniable benefits of an alliance with the Luminary. As she prepared to face the leaders of Earth once again, Chen glanced at Zartan. The luminary scales were pulsing with a pattern she had learned to recognize as hope. "Together?" she asked softly. Zartan's multifaceted eyes met hers. "Together," it agreed. With that, they turned to face the view screen, ready to shape the future of not just their own species, but of the galaxy itself. The conference room of the U.S. Horizon had become an impromptu hub of interstellar diplomacy. On one side sat Captain Chen and her senior staff, alongside Zartan and several other luminary representatives. On the other, displayed on a massive view screen, were the leaders of Earth's major nations and the top brass of Earth Fleet Command. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mixture of awe, fear, and cautious optimism. Admiral Zhou's voice cut through the silence. Captain Chen, while we appreciate your efforts in defending Proxima Centauri, the fact remains that you've brought a significant alien presence into our space without authorization. Chen leaned forward, her voice steady. Admiral, with all due respect, the luminary fleet saved not just the colony, but potentially Earth itself. The Void Hunters were a threat beyond our capacity to handle. We need allies in this new dangerous galaxy we found ourselves in. President Emerson's face creased with concern. And how do we know these luminary aren't a threat themselves? They've brought war to our doorstep. Zartan glided forward, its scales shimmering with earnest intensity. Esteemed leaders of Earth, we understand your concerns. We come not as conquerors, but as refugees seeking a new home and allies in our fight for survival. Our technology, our knowledge of the galaxy, we offer it freely in exchange for your friendship and a place to call home. The human leaders murmured among themselves, clearly torn between the potential benefits and the perceived risks of such an alliance. Sensing the moment, Chen stood. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this situation is unprecedented, but I've seen firsthand what the luminary are capable of. Their values, their dedication to knowledge and peace, they align with the very best of what humanity strives for. Together, we could forge a future brighter than either of our species could achieve alone. As the debate raged on, with arguments for and against the alliance flying back and forth, a new voice suddenly joined the conversation. If I may offer a perspective. All eyes turned to Dr. Zora Okoro, who had been quietly observing until now. The chief medical officer stood, her eyes blazing with conviction. In my time treating the luminary, I've discovered something remarkable, she began. Their biology, their very genetic structure, is complementary to our own in ways we're only beginning to understand. The medical advancements we could achieve together. We're talking about cures for diseases we thought unbeatable, extensions of the human lifespan, perhaps even the key to reversing climate change on a planetary scale. Her words hung in the air, the potential implications sinking in. Admiral Zhou leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. Doctor, are you saying an alliance with the luminary could lead to a new era of human advancement? Dr. Okoro nodded firmly. Not just human advancement, Admiral. We're talking about the advancement of life itself. The luminary's understanding of biology and ecology is centuries beyond our own. Together, we could terraform dead worlds, restore dying ecosystems, perhaps even bring extinct species back to life. The mood in the room shifted palpably. The fear and suspicion began to give way to curiosity and hope. President Emerson, who had been one of the most vocal skeptics, now looked intrigued. Captain Chen, Dr. Okoro, you've given us much to consider, but there are still many details to work out. The public will need to be prepared, protocols established. Chen nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Of course, Mr. President, we're prepared to work with Earth's governments every step of the way to ensure a smooth integration. As the meeting concluded, with agreements made for further discussions and the establishment of a joint human luminary task force, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in her crew and in humanity itself. They had faced the unknown with courage and compassion, and in doing so, had opened the door to a future filled with limitless possibilities. Outside the conference room, Chen found Zartan waiting. The luminary's scales pulsed with a pattern she had come to recognize as gratitude. Captain, Zartan's harmonious voice resonated softly. Your species continues to surprise and impress us. We had hoped for tolerance, perhaps grudging acceptance. But this offer of true alliance and friendship, It is more than we dared dream." Chen smiled, feeling the weight of the past weeks lifting from her shoulders. "We're not so different, you and us. We both seek knowledge, exploration, and the betterment of life. Together, I think we can achieve great things." As they gazed out at the stars through the horizon's viewport, Chen realized that this was more than just a diplomatic victory. It was the dawn of a new era for both their species. The challenges ahead were many, but for the first time since encountering the Void Hunters, the future looked bright. The journey that had begun with a distress call in a distant nebula had led them here, to the threshold of a grand cosmic adventure. And as the U.S. Horizon prepared to escort the luminary fleet to Earth, Captain Ilara Chen knew that the greatest chapters of their story were yet to be written. A new understanding, approximately 2,000 words. The journey back to Earth was filled with a mix of anticipation and nervous energy. The U.S. Horizon led the way, flanked by the majestic luminary Orcs. As they approached the Sol system, Captain Ilara Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and wonder. She was about to introduce an alien species to her homeworld, a moment that would forever change the course of human history. "Captain," Lieutenant Cruz called from his station, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." They're broadcasting it planet-wide." Chen straightened her uniform, exchanging a glance with Zartan, who stood serenely beside her. "On screen, Lieutenant." The view screen flickered to life, showing the face of Secretary General Amelia Rodriguez of the United Earth Government. Her expression was a careful mixture of dignity and cautious optimism. "People of Earth," Rodriguez began, her voice echoing across the bridge, "today marks a pivotal moment in human history. We are about to welcome visitors from beyond our star system. The Luminary, as they're called, come to us not as conquerors, but as refugees seeking friendship and alliance." As Rodriguez continued her speech, detailing the events at Proxima Centauri and the potential benefits of cooperation with the Luminary, Chen watched the reactions of her crew. There was pride, excitement, and yes, a hint of fear in their eyes. They understood the magnitude of this moment. "Captain," Zartan's melodious voice drew her attention. "Your people's leader speaks well." But I sense apprehension beneath her words. Chen nodded. "Change is never easy, Zartan, especially change of this magnitude. But I believe in humanity's capacity for growth and acceptance." As they entered Earth's orbit, the sight that greeted them took Chen's breath away. A vast array of ships had assembled to welcome them. Everything from massive Earth fleet cruisers to small private vessels. And beyond them, the blue marble of Earth hung in space, more beautiful than Chen remembered. "We're being hailed by Earth Fleet Command," Cruz reported. "They're requesting permission to send a delegation aboard both ships." Chen smiled. "Grant them permission, Lieutenant, and prepare to receive our guests." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. High-ranking Earth officials toured both the Horizon and the Lid Luminary Arc, their eyes wide with wonder at the alien technology. Meanwhile, teams of scientists, diplomats, and cultural experts began the monumental task of establishing protocols for human-luminary interaction. In the Horizon's main conference room, now expanded to accommodate both human and luminary physiology, Chen found herself mediating discussions on everything from resource sharing to cultural exchange programs. "The potential for scientific advancement is staggering," Dr. Okoro was saying, her eyes alight with excitement. "The luminaries' understanding of quantum mechanics alone could revolutionize our energy production, not to mention their insights into biology and medicine." Admiral Zhao, who had arrived with the Earth delegation, nodded thoughtfully. "And their faster-than-light technology could expand our exploration capabilities exponentially. But we need to consider the security implications. The galaxy is clearly more dangerous than we realized." Zartan, who had been listening intently, spoke up. "We understand your concerns, Admiral. Our people have faced many dangers in our long journey. We offer not just our technology, but our experience in navigating the complexities of interstellar relations." As the discussions continued, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in both species. Despite their differences, despite the fear and uncertainty, they were finding common ground, building bridges of understanding. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship. Chen's comm badge chirped urgently. "Captain, to the bridge, immediately." Chen rushed to the bridge, followed closely by Admiral Zhao and Zartan. The scene that greeted them on the view screen made her blood run cold. A massive Void Hunter ship had appeared at the edge of the solar system, larger than any they had encountered before. "How did it get past our long-range sensors?" Zhao demanded. Patel, working furiously at his station, shook his head. "Unknown, Admiral. Its cloaking technology is like nothing we've ever seen." The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as Earth's defense forces mobilized. But Chen could see the fear in their eyes. Even with the luminary ships, they were facing a threat of unprecedented scale. Zartan moved to the center of the bridge, its scales pulsing with a pattern Chen had never seen before. "Captain, Admiral, there may be a way to end this threat once and for all, but it will require trust between our peoples like never before." Chen and Zhao exchanged glances. "What do you propose?" Chen asked. "The Void Hunters are connected by a quantum entanglement network," Zartan explained. "It's how they coordinate their attacks across vast distances. If we could access that network, we could potentially shut down their entire fleet." "And how do we do that?" Zhao asked, skepticism clear in her voice. Zartan's multifaceted eyes seemed to shine with determination. "We would need to combine our technologies in a way never before attempted. Luminary quantum interfaces, powered by your fusion reactors, guided by both our intelligences working in perfect harmony." Chen understood immediately. "You're talking about a direct neural link between our species." Zartan nodded. "It is not without risk. But it may be our only chance to save both our peoples." The gravity of the decision weighed heavily on Chen. This went beyond any first contact protocol, beyond any regulation or guideline. But as she looked at the faces of her crew, at the trust in Zartan's eyes, and thought of the billions of lives on the planet below, she knew there was only one choice. "Let's do it," she said firmly. What followed was a race against time. As Earth's defense forces engaged the Void Hunter ship, buying precious minutes, the crew of the Horizon worked alongside the Luminary to construct an interface unlike anything ever built. In the center of the bridge, surrounded by a web of glowing circuitry and pulsing energy conduits, Chen found herself face to face with Zartan. Between them hovered a shimmering field of quantum energy. "Are you ready, Captain?" Zartan asked, its voice filled with a mixture of anticipation and concern. Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Ready as I'll ever be. Let's make history." As one, they reached into the quantum field. The moment their hands, human and alien, touched, Chen's world exploded into light and sensation. She was everywhere and nowhere. Her consciousness expanded beyond the confines of her physical form. She could feel the vastness of space, the pulse of distant stars, the intricate dance of subatomic particles. And there, intertwined with her own thoughts, was Zartan's alien mind, complex, beautiful, and utterly familiar. Together, they raced along pathways of pure information, seeking the quantum signature of the Void Hunters. They found it, a dark, pulsing network that sprawled across the galaxy. With their combined will, human determination, and luminary insight, they began to unravel it. On the bridge of the Horizon, the crew watched in awe as Captain Chen and Zartan stood motionless, surrounded by a nimbus of shifting energy. On the view screen, the massive Void Hunter ship suddenly faltered in its attack. "Their weapons are powering down," Kruz reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Their shields, their entire ship is going dark." As the Void Hunter threat dissipated, Chen and Zartan's consciousnesses began to disentangle. But before they parted, there was a moment of perfect understanding between them, a shared vision of the future their peoples could build together. When Chen opened her eyes, she found herself back on the bridge, supported by Dr. Okoro. The quantum interface was shutting down, its purpose served. Zartan stood nearby, its scales shimmering with patterns of joy and wonder. "Did it work?" Chen asked, her voice hoarse. Admiral Zhao stepped forward, her eyes wide with amazement. "It did more than work, Captain. The Void Hunter ship is dead in space, and we're receiving reports from across the sector. Every Void Hunter vessel has gone dark. You didn't just stop an invasion. You may have ended the threat entirely." As the implications of their success sank in, a cheer went up from the crew. Chen felt a wave of relief and elation wash over her. They had done it. Against all odds, humans and Luminary had come together to face a threat greater than either could have handled alone. In the days that followed, as news of the victory spread, the mood on Earth shifted dramatically. Fear and suspicion gave way to curiosity and hope. The image of Captain Chen and Zartan, human and alien united in purpose, became a symbol of a new era of cooperation. 1 month later, Chen stood on a platform in front of the newly established United Earth Luminary Council building. Beside her was Zartan, along with leaders from both species. Before them stretched a sea of faces, human and Luminary alike, gathered to witness the signing of the Interstellar Cooperation Treaty. As Chen stepped up to the podium, she felt the weight of the moment. Her words would be broadcast not just across Earth, but to every human colony and Luminary arc. "Today," she began, her voice clear and strong, "we stand at the dawn of a new age. An age where the boundaries between species fall away, where the vastness of space is not a barrier, but a frontier we will explore together." She looked out at the crowd, seeing hope and determination in their eyes. "The challenges we faced, the Void Hunters, our own fears and prejudices, have shown us that we are stronger together than we ever could be apart. The treaty we signed today is more than just a document. It's a promise to face whatever the universe throws at us, not as humans or Luminary, but as united citizens of the cosmos." As Chen finished her speech, she turned to watch as the leaders of Earth and the Luminary Council signed the treaty. The crowd erupted in cheers, a sound of joy that seemed to echo across the stars. Later that evening, Chen found herself on the observation deck of the horizon, gazing out at the Earth below. Zartan joined her, its presence now a familiar comfort. "What happens now, Captain?" the Luminary asked. Chen smiled, her eyes fixed on the horizon, where Earth's atmosphere met the starry expanse of space. Now we explore. Together, we'll push back the boundaries of the unknown, face new challenges, make new discoveries. The adventure we started in that nebula, it's only just beginning." As they stood there, human and Luminary side by side, Captain Ilara Chen felt a sense of limitless possibility. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and they were going to explore it all. Whatever dangers or marvels awaited them out there in the cosmic ocean, they would face them united, bound by a friendship that transcended the very stars themselves. The end of this story was just the beginning of a greater one, a tale of two species, once strangers, now allies, embarking on the greatest adventure of all, the exploration of the infinite frontier of space together.